What's up, beautiful people? It's your favorite cousin back again, Rich. And today we're going to talk about being a late bloomer. The late bloomer phenomenon. I was going to say by raising hands how many of you are late bloomers, but how would that work out? So I guess comment or like or something like that if you're a late bloomer. But the thing is, if you're a late bloomer, it's okay. It's actually a cheat code to life. See, as a late bloomer, you get to sit back and watch how everything else plays out before you get your turn. See? You get to watch everybody's mistakes and you get to see all the things that people did right before you get to play your hand. Being a late bloomer allows you to play the backfield. But this sounds good, right? Of course. So the downsides of being a late bloomer, everybody gets to go before you. You have to wait a prolonged period of time before your ships come in. Is that such a bad thing, though? Sure, you don't get to have all the fun, or you don't get to experience life on the same page at the same time as everyone else around you, as your counterparts. True. But when you get to enjoy life, when you get to have your fun, when it's your time, when it's your turn, you have the most fun. Why? Because this is something that you've been anticipating for a long time. This is something that you've been plotting and planning on. When your time comes, you're going to execute it the best way possible. I myself, I'm a late bloomer. And this is coming from firsthand experience. That being a late bloomer allowed me to play the backfield. Allowed me to take my time in life. It allowed me to really get to know who I was before it was time for me to jump off the porch. You dig? See, some people are forced to jump off the porch before it's their time. Some people are premature. So they're forced to jump off and go without having any example or having any proper course of action. But because my time was delayed, and late bloomers are delayed, like I said, we're able to play the backfield and see which way we want to go, how we want to take things, what happens if this person went this way, what happens if this person went that way. And we get to tailor life to our liking. I sometimes believe that being a late bloomer is God's gift. A God's gift before you get to, or before you have to embark on this life and you make choices that you necessarily can't take back. And that's with every choice. That's what I mean. Every choice is a choice that you make, and it dictates your life or how you go. And you can't take that choice back. You can make another choice to correct that choice if that choice wasn't the proper choice. But, you see where I'm going? So being a late bloomer, you're allowed to properly make your choices because you have the time to sit back. You get to really analyze and learn yourself, know yourself. Being a late bloomer is a beautiful thing. I know I've already said it, but it's a beautiful thing. Because you get overlooked. And see why you're overlooked. All you get to do is go in hermit mode. You get to, lock yourself in and just work on yourself, work on your craft, work on yourself, work on your craft, work on yourself, work on your craft. Because you've already gotten that download from the Most High of where you're going and what you got to do. And you already know yourself internally where you're going and what you got to do. So as you're working on yourself and working on your craft, you're just getting better, knowing yourself even more. And your value is rising more and more and more and more and more. Now all of a sudden when you pop out, people are like, who is this? You're a whole different person. See, being a late bloomer is just like a piece of meat that's being marinated properly. Or a dry aged steak you know, that they are letting cure. And the longer and the better it cures, is the better that steak is going to turn out. Or just like wine. Not no wine that's just been, fermenting for a year. No, I'm talking about wine that's been fermenting for 10, 15, 20 years. That good shit. That's what being a late bloomer is. All you're doing is fermenting. All you're doing is marinating. All you're doing is just preparing yourself. So when it's time for you to pop out, boom. That's all it is. So being a late bloomer is not anything to look down upon. Like I said, the only thing that I would say is a downfall is that you're going to be overlooked when you first come out, when you first start your journey. You're going to be. It is what it is. But you're going to go from overlooked to what? Overbooked. Like I said, why? Because you're able to play the field. You're able to see where people are losing. You're able to see where people are not proficient in certain areas. You're able to pick the game apart. You see it from a higher point of view because people are not looking your way. So anybody who feels like they're being overlooked, and they know they got the skill, they know they got the talent, they know they got the wisdom, the knowledge. They know who they are. It's just not your time yet. I know I made a video about that, but it's just not your time yet. It's just like a person whose puberty is probably delayed or something like that, right? They're a late bloomer. Their time hasn't just come yet. And what happens, we see a lot of it, especially in basketball, when people might have been 5'8", and they come back one summer and all of a sudden they're 6'4", 6'5". I'm like, what the hell? Now they hooping. But the whole time when they were 5'8", they were sitting on the bench and what? They were studying the game. They weren't just lollygagging, twiddling their thumbs. No, they were studying the game. They knew they wanted to play basketball. They just didn't know when their time was going to come. So they sat on the bench and watched the game. And when they hit that growth spurt, everything, the divine timing just lined up and boom. Now they're 6'4", playing basketball. We done seen it before. People go away for a summer, get big. So all that is, in when you're talking about intellectual, or you're talking about, just your craft or anything like that, that summer break that people go on, all that is just you being in hermit mode. All that is you just being locked up and getting your mind right. That's all it is. You being overlooked is the same thing as somebody going away for the summer, growing. That's it. All it is just God isolating you so you can grow. God needs you to be isolated so you can grow and know yourself. So when he puts you out there, you know who you are. Can't nobody throw you off. This whole time you're gaining wisdom, you're gaining knowledge. You're knowing self. That's very important. Because people who are forced to enter the game early, whatever game it is, who's forced to enter life early, they don't know themselves. How could you? They figure that out later on down the line. But because you're forced to wait, guess what? You have no other option. Like I said, I highly believe being a late bloomer is God's gift. A lot of times the late bloomer is the one that shines and blooms the best, blooms the most, the brightest. Well, hope this helps somebody today. Remember, if you're a late bloomer, embrace it. Embrace being overlooked at this time. You're not always going to be overlooked. You're not always going to be the last one or sitting on the bench or whatever the case may be. Your time is going to come. Know that. So while you're in isolation, so while you're in isolation and while you're waiting on your turn, because it's going to come, just know yourself and get better. And then when your time comes, you're going to shock everybody. Anyway, I hope this helps somebody today. This your favorite cousin. Y'all be safe. Love and blessings.